They say the truth will set you free, but what they don't tell you is that before it does, it will completely dismantle your life. It doesn't come gently. It rips through illusions, shatters comfort, and demands transformation. You've felt the shift. You've heard the whispers. And now, the world waits, nervously, desperately, for someone brave enough to speak the words no one wants to hear. But the brutal truth is this: no one is coming to save them. Not after everything they've ignored, denied, and laughed off. Throughout history, those who spoke the raw, unfiltered truth weren't celebrated in their time. They were silenced, ridiculed, even destroyed. Only much later did the world realize they had been right all along. Yet here we are again. People gather, hoping that maybe this time will be different. But it won't be. Because the chosen one is not here to coddle or comfort. They're here to expose. And the truth is, most people would rather drown in lies than ever face what's real. The chosen one never looks like what people expect. They're not loud or flashy. They don't crave attention or validation. They're not wrapped in charisma or perfection. They are often quiet, overlooked, and dismissed. The misfits, the outcasts, the ones who've spent more time in solitude than in the spotlight. They don't speak to be liked. They speak because they carry something that refuses to be silenced. People claim they want the truth, but what they really want is comfort. They want words that affirm their beliefs, not ones that challenge them. The moment the truth demands change, accountability, or a shift in perspective, they recoil. They twist your words, label you as negative, say you're being dramatic or divisive. Not because you're wrong, but because your message threatens their illusion. And when twisting your words isn't enough, they mock you, make jokes, roll their eyes, anything to discredit the messenger so they don't have to face the message. That's how denial survives. Through noise, distractions, emotional drama, and irrelevant arguments. They'll attack your tone instead of your truth. They'll change the subject, create confusion, anything to avoid confronting the reality they fear. Being the chosen one often feels more like a burden than a blessing. People glorify the idea, but they have no clue what it actually costs. It means seeing through the layers others cling to, holding knowledge you never asked for, and carrying a responsibility that no one else wants. It means watching people crash into consequences you warned them about, only to be blamed for being too much, too blunt, or too intense. When you're ahead of your time, you walk alone. You see what others can't or won't. You're not distracted by the surface. You're watching the undercurrents, connecting invisible threads, sensing the bigger picture. And that kind of awareness is isolating. The deeper your insight grows, the harder it becomes to find anyone who truly understands you. Then, as if the weight of truth weren't enough, there comes the weight of expectation. People look to you for answers, for guidance, for perfection. But the moment you show any vulnerability, they turn. Your strength becomes arrogance. Your insight becomes manipulation. They wanted a savior but expected you to be spotless. Forgetting that real wisdom is born from scars, not a flawless image. And even when you try to step away, to retreat into silence, something always calls you back. Because deep down, you know someone out there needs to hear what you have to say. Purpose doesn't ask for permission. It chooses you. And once it does, you can't unsee what you've seen. You can't unlearn what you know. You can't go back to pretending. So, you speak. Not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. Because someone has to say what others are too afraid to. Because the world is drowning in noise, and your voice, your truth, might be the one signal someone has been waiting for. Most people won't thank you. Many will reject you. Some will try to destroy you, but none of that matters, because the truth does not need validation. It doesn't bow to feelings. It doesn't wait until everyone is ready. It just is. And eventually, when the dust settles and reality can no longer be avoided, the very people who once mocked you will remember what you said. But by then, the moment will have passed. The damage will be done. Because when it mattered most, they didn't want truth. They wanted comfort. And comfort has never saved anyone. It's not that you're wrong, it's that they're not ready. This is why so many real voices go unheard. Society has constructed entire systems to suppress uncomfortable truths, because real change threatens comfort. And that's the root of it. Real change isn't easy. It dismantles illusions, disrupts norms, and forces people to confront what they've spent their lives avoiding. But here's the truth. Truth doesn't need approval or applause. Even when buried or ignored, it finds a way, through consequences, cracks in the noise, and undeniable shifts. Eventually, reality speaks so loudly that no one can silence it. And when that moment comes, the silence they tried to impose on you will turn into echoes they can't escape. You weren't sent to save them. You were sent to expose them. That's a truth most people don't want to hear. Not everyone wants to be saved. Some are so comfortably asleep in their own destruction that they will fight to stay that way. It's not that they can't wake up. They refuse to. They resist reality like it's their enemy, even when it's the only thing that could set them free. That's where people misunderstand the chosen ones. They think your purpose is to pull everyone from the fire. But you're not here to convince or carry. You're here to reveal. You are the light that makes hiding impossible. Your role is to shine so brightly that no one can claim they didn't see the truth when it was standing right in front of them. Trying to save those who don't want to be saved is soul-draining. It's a war against their ego, their denial, and their addiction to illusion. They will fight you, twist your words, and label you the enemy, all to protect the very chains that keep them imprisoned. But those who are truly ready won't need dragging. Even if the truth terrifies them, something inside them will recognize it. Those are the ones worth speaking for, not the mockers, not the attackers, but the quiet listeners, the ones who feel the quake within, because truth is waking something dormant inside them. You're not here to carry them to safety. You're here to make the truth so clear, so piercing, that everyone must choose wake up or stay asleep, face it or run. What they do after that isn't your burden. You've done your part. That's enough. Most will betray you the moment you no longer benefit them. Loyalty is often a mirage, real until tested. Nothing reveals someone's true character faster than the day your truth no longer serves their ego. People will praise you, call you a visionary, as long as your message validates them. But when your truth begins to challenge them instead of flatter them, watch how quickly admiration turns to resentment. They'll say you've changed. They'll accuse you of arrogance. They won't admit the truth makes them uncomfortable. Instead, they'll dissect your every word, twist your meaning, and convince themselves you've lost your way. Because if you're wrong, they don't have to confront themselves. That's why so many real voices are cast aside. Not because they lost their truth, but because they stopped telling people what they wanted to hear. Truth only feels good when it strokes the ego. But the second it demands accountability, it becomes a threat. The same people who praised you will turn against you, once your truth holds a mirror to them. But this was never about you. It's about their desperate need to protect the illusion they live in. That's why the real ones never chase approval. They know admiration is fleeting. One moment you're a hero, the next you're the villain. But through all the betrayal, one thing never changes: the truth. The system was never built for the real ones. It thrives on control, not disruption. It rewards obedience, not originality. The truth. It threatens the foundation. It doesn't ask permission. It exposes. That's why those who speak it are mocked, silenced, or turned into caricatures. The system doesn't want prophets. It wants puppets. And society plays along. People say they want the truth, but what they really want is comfort. A truth that doesn't ask them to change. That's why they resist the real ones. Because if those voices are right, then everything they believe in might be wrong. The real ones don't fit in, and they're not meant to. The system senses them immediately and reacts with fear. It tries to silence them, break them, or turn them into entertainment so no one will take them seriously. But truth doesn't need permission. No matter how many distractions they create, truth always finds a way. And by the time it's undeniable, it's already too late. The real ones, the ones they mocked, ignored, and cast aside, turn out to be the only ones who tried to warn them. They don't deserve your voice if they mocked your silence. When you were quiet, they thought it meant weakness. But your silence was not ignorance. It was observation. While they laughed, you listened. While they dismissed you, you connected dots. You weren't lost. You were preparing. And now that truth is breaking through. Now they come seeking the wisdom they once ridiculed. But wisdom is not a service for the ungrateful. You don't get to mock the source, then demand its guidance. The real ones aren't here to be used when convenient. The truth was always there. They just weren't ready to hear it. And if they refused to listen when it mattered, they don't deserve to be handed the answers now. That's the line. The ones who deserve your voice are the ones who honored your silence. The ones who, even without understanding, never mocked your path. Let the rest sit with the consequences of their arrogance. You don't owe them your words just because they finally realize that ignorance has a price. If they didn't value you when it counted, let them find their own way, because most people won't believe until it's too late. That's the pattern. They ignore the signs, mock the messengers, and convince themselves they still have time. But truth waits for no one. They call the truth paranoia and label the messengers dramatic, until reality proves them wrong. But truth doesn't wait. It doesn't pause until they're ready. By the time they understand, the damage is done. The warnings they mocked are now their regrets. And those they once ridiculed, they now look like prophets. But it's too late for apologies. Consequences don't bargain. This cycle repeats. They laugh at the truth until it becomes obvious. They ignore the signs until the storm hits. Then they panic, beg for help, and search for answers they once rejected. But truth isn't a lifeboat. It's a rising tide. And the ones who listened early, they're standing strong, not because they're lucky, but because they were willing to see when others refused. A chosen one never argues. They speak their truth and keep moving. They don't chase approval. They don't need to. Their presence alone unsettles illusions. Some admire them. Others resent them. But it's never really about the chosen one. It's about what they reflect. Real truth doesn't need convincing. It simply is. And when you're ready, you'll recognize it. Thank you for watching. If this message touched your spirit, please like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment about your own awakening journey. If you feel called to support our work, you can donate or buy us a coffee using the link in the description. Every prayer, penny, and share makes a difference. With gratitude, rise and shine. May you walk in truth and light.